thank you for having us. We are On the Ground Consulting. I'm Sophie, this is Erin and Laura. We're here tonight to talk to you about the social costs and ethical issues that come with gold mining, specifically as it relates to Ibecc's mine, Porgera, in Papua New Guinea. Ibecc is the leading gold producer in the world. It has over 130 billion ounces of gold in reserves, and also it has made over $19 billion just in the Porgera mine alone last year. Ibecc has a commitment to the communities in which it operates. It has an extensive CSR policy that has been built upon the UN Protect, Respect, Remedy framework.
And yet, we continue to see Ibecc in the news for human rights and environmental violations. So what's the problem here? Policy without action is useless. We think that you have an implementation problem, and without on-the-ground implementation, you cannot meet your ethical responsibility to do no harm and to treat others with respect. Ibecc has been accused of causing severe environmental damage surrounding the Porgera mines. 1 ton of ore contains only a small amount of gold, yet it contains substantial amounts of potentially toxic heavy metals such as cadmium, arsenic, lead, and mercury. At Porgera, to extract gold, the rock is crushed and mixed with cyanide, and then it is neutralized, meaning that it's adjusted for pH. However, none of the heavy metals or the chemicals used in the processing are removed. And then Ibecc discharges about 6 million tons into the Porgera River every year. This is not consistent with industry best practice. In fact, Porgera is only one of 3 large international mines that are still discharging mine waste tailings into river systems. While you claim that this is in regulation with the laws of Papua New Guinea, it is not in compliance with international water standards and would not be acceptable in any developed country. Also, you are not transparent and you have not released any environmental reports to the public. In addition to liquid mine waste tailings, there's also waste in the form of solid rock. So at Porgera, there are 3 large rock dumps that are massive and continuing to expand. This is rock that has been deemed uneconomical to mine. And it is covering huge swaths of farmland and forests as they grow. This is a huge ethical problem, as many of the villagers at Porgera depend on subsistence farming for their livelihood, and this has been affected. Also, the villagers are moving further and further uphill away from the mine, but the slopes there are much steeper, making it difficult for them to farm. Also, the population of Porgera has grown from 10,000 indigenous residents to between 30 and 50,000 people. This is due to economic migration, people coming from the rest of Papua New Guinea to try to get jobs at the mine. These combined effects have severely affected food security and access to clean drinking water. Because of all of these things, the villagers of Porgera are demanding that the whole community be resettled. In fact, 84% of villagers surveyed had said that they felt strongly that life is much worse off now than before the mine. However, you have decided not to relocate the whole village, rather to only relocate a couple of hundred homes on a need-to-move basis. This is based on geotechnical requirements, not socioeconomic factors or environmental factors. The Porgera Landowners Association, the body that looks out for the interests of the landowners there, have said, Ibecc, you have made this place impossible to live. Either you must resettle the entire community immediately, or you must leave this place. Because the community hasn't been resettled and people have lost their livelihood, many villagers are resorting to illegal mining to regain their livelihood. A small number of illegal miners are violently breaking in to the open pit part of the mine to steal gold. However, a much larger number of men, women and children non-violently trespass onto the waste dumps on the outskirts of the mine to scavenge for any little remaining amounts of gold that might exist in that waste rock. Illegal mining is a very dangerous practice for the villagers. However, it also poses an incredible security risk for Ibecc, and as a result, you have hired over 400 security guards. These security guards there's been allegations against these security guards for rape, beatings, and killings by Ibecc security guards on Ibecc's mines. None of these violent attacks have happened during the violent raids. Rather, they have all been against illegal miners who are on the remote waste dumps. Most of the victims have been women, and when the women have been interviewed, they have said, "We were given the choice. Either we could go to prison for illegal mining, or we could have sex with the security guards. Regardless of the answer, they were then gang raped, and in many cases brutally beaten." None of these women have reported these incidents to Ibecc or to the police force, and these incidents have been brought to light by human rights groups. The women say that they felt that there was no safe channel where they could express their grievances. As well, they felt that if they reported, they would suffer negative reprisals. All of the women, however, said that they would continue to go back despite the violence that they had faced, because this is their backyard and this is the only way that they can regain their livelihood. Ibecc, you have acknowledged this violence against women, and you have offered these women compensation, however, only if they sign away all legal future rights.
The issues that have been brought forward are evidence of a serious ethical dilemma for the board of directors and the management of Ibecc Gold. Ultimately, the board has a decision to make about what ethical standard they want to uphold at the Porgera mine. What level of environmental protection, what level of human rights are they willing to defend? And will they seek a consistency between their policies and procedures and how they actually implement those procedures on the ground? How they can do that first is to be there more frequently, to be there to learn more firsthand from the villagers and the indigenous peoples how they might create solutions and solve some of the very difficult issues they're having. Secondly, they need to increase the level of accountability, create concrete accountability mechanisms that will allow the board to feel the sense of pride in their own company, that they feel assurance from their senior management right down to the mine staff themselves that the issues are being addressed. The metrics might be qualitative, they might be quantitative. What levels of violence are happening? Are the steps that Ibecc is taking now helping this situation? Or is it still getting worse and new different things have to be done? Reports need to be made more transparent to the public. Groups such as Mining Watch are seeking this from Ibecc, and I think this is an imperative for the assurances to be provided from a global perspective. And finally, the CSR advisory panel that you have, which is the capstone of an incredible CSR program. These individuals can provide an inspiration and in fact a trickle-down effect to the whole company, infiltrating the culture more effectively and allowing there to be that consistency between policy and implementation. So ultimately, Ibecc has a decision to make. What standard of human rights, environment, and human worth are they willing to defend? And if they uphold the highest standard, then they will see a sustainable company that will be successful well into the future.